Boom. I think I'm an entire 5 minutes late. Right before, and I know this is going to sound like an excuse. It is. But it is the absolute truth. Right before I pressed live, I got a phone call. I did. And, you know, sometimes there's certain phone calls you just have to take. And I think that was one of them, really, honestly. So what I need to know is if we're live. Are we live? Are we good? Are we on? Tell me in the comments if we're on. Go ahead and tell me that. I need to know that for my own peace of mind. Because, you know, sometimes you jump on and you think you're on, but you're not. And that just sort of discombobulates the entire process. Go ahead and break it down for me, guys. Bo, I see you. Please tell me, Bo, if I'm loud and clear. And that just sort of... There you go. There you go. You know, yesterday I was vlogging. I was live vlogging at Manda Hill. And as I was walking through the car park over there, all of a sudden, it was overcast, you know, and the wind began to blow fiercely. And then I got caught up in this dust storm, you know, and in my language, we say, there's an ambua. So, you know, I got some dust in my hair last night. And so this morning when I was getting ready, I was absolutely sure I had a bottle of, you know, shampoo in our shower. And for some reason, it's just not there. So as soon as I'm done here, I need to go downstairs. There's a little salon here at Simoson. Some people say saloon, others say, but the correct pronunciation is salon with one O. It's salon. Salon is a hairdressing place. A saloon is a tavern. It's a bar. Nishabini. No, I'm from Muntualanda to saloon, nishabini. Okay, but in Zambia we use those two words interchangeably. So as soon as I'm done with this live, I'm going to go downstairs to this little cute little salon in the corner, and I'm going to ask the lady to wash my hair because I feel very conscious about dusty hair. I'm graying, and I'm fine with graying. You know, people ask me all the time, well, why don't you dye your hair? Can I be honest with you? I've thought of it. I've contemplated this. The more I think about it, the more nervous I become about it, because I'm thinking, you know what? We're all going to age, you know, every single one of us. So what's the point? I'm not knocking dyeing hair. If you want to dye your hair and you're fine with that, you go ahead and do it. More power to you. All I'm saying is that I have misgivings about it. Does it mean I will never dye my hair? We don't know. You know, you never know. One of these days I might just wake up and decide, you know what? I'm going to dye my hair. The other day, as some of you know, my wife is in Kenya for a week with my daughter and our grandkids. My son-in-law is an engineer, and he's out of town this week, so my wife was very, very happy to accompany my daughter to Kenya. But there's a reason I brought that up. Why did I bring that up? This is the thing. When you go off on a tangent, you lose your train of thought. So, oh, right. I'll talk about my wife. Every so often, my wife will look at me and she says, you know, you're graying. And I say to her, well, honey, welcome to the club. Okay. And this is the reason I find it's absolutely important to marry someone within your age bracket. Because if you marry them too young, ooh, boy, I tell you, they're gonna take you around the world, boy. They're gonna make you feel less than. But if you marry someone within your vicinity, even if they say to you, you're graying, all you got to do is look back at them and say, hey, right back at you, honey. We're in the same boat. You and I, same WhatsApp group. You can't say that with these 21-year-olds. Okay, if you're 56 and you're dating a 21-year-old, oh, you're going to be in a world of hurt, boy. A world of hurt. She's going to make you feel ancient as dirt. Okay, so when my wife says to me I'm graying, I just say to her, well, honey, that's like the pot calling the kettle black. Welcome to the club. Right. Guys, when you hear me do this, that's my tabletop. Let's talk about it. Got a couple of things I want to talk to you about that I think are important. First of all, let me make it absolutely clear that the seed of dissension in as far as this heightened, elevated tension between Chavinga's PF and UPND, the seed of that germinated in Chingola. And it shouldn't have been that way. Chingola was something that it was totally unnecessary. You guys know the story. The market was burnt in Ichiwempala. The head of state visited that area, and he felt it incumbent upon him to make sure that he not only visits the area, but provides some semblance of help, a package of assistance, solutions. His express purpose for going to Chiwempala was to assist the people that were victims of this tragedy of the market being burnt. There was nothing in the agenda that talked about dealing with mines and Senseli. However, the vast majority of the people that went to that gathering where the president was to address the people, the vast majority of them were there to hear about Senseli mine. They were not there. They were not even concerned about the market. I discovered this very quickly after walking through the crowd and talking to the people in the community, getting their views. I realized very quickly, very swiftly, that most of these people want to hear the president talk to them about Senseli mine. Now, for those of you that do not know, because there's some people that may not know, Senseli mine is a mine that was being used illegally by the residents of that area. In 2023, more than 27 kids died. They were buried alive in that market. So in an effort to sort of safeguard the future of the young people in that area, the government shut down that mine and has been touting this idea of conducting mining from a legal point of view. The only problem with that is that some young people are saying that if the government has shut down the mine and yet we see certain people having access to the same mine, but we are being blocked from accessing the mine, that's an anomaly. That's a problem. And that's something that the government has to deal with. They have to aggressively deal with that. But at the core, the main issue, two issues. Number one, the head of state, this administration is very strong, is very big on legal mining, not illegal mining. Because as you know, illegal mining spawns several problems. One of which being it creates an idea of warlords. You know, it creates kingpins. It creates gangsters that are led by these bosses that are the bosses, self-proclaimed bosses of gemstone territory. If the government does not get a firm grip on this issue of illegal mining, I'm telling you, we'll become just like Congo. In Congo, there are areas where the police, government, nobody goes there. It is totally controlled by gangsters. If this issue of Jeroboz in this country is not quashed, that's the word, is not quashed, Jeroboz are going to be so powerful because they earn in dollars. They earn a revenue in US dollars. That means they have access to guns. They have access to mobilizing and employing thousands of youth, child soldiers that will be loyal to them. So much so that if they become so powerful, they will become so untouchable that not even government can control them. That is where we're going with illegal mining. Don't think for a moment that no, illegal mining abayiche the Kenya abayiche abayiche bale panga kwempia abayiche bale lishabana. Don't think of it like that. If you think of it in that way, you are oversimplifying it. You are oversimplifying the matter and you don't even know what you're talking about. I shared with you not too long ago that after the skirmishes in Mwewa, we were having dinner at the hotel we were staying at, and a young man approached me. He was from the Congo, and he said, Mr. Mwewa, I've been following this issue here with Jeroboam quite closely, and I can tell you, that is the problem we have in Congo. The problem of this idea that there are certain people that own territory. There are certain warlords that are the bosses of certain areas, and that law enforcement, army, police, government cannot go to those areas. When you have that situation, that is a recipe for disaster. A total, unequivocal recipe for disaster. So when you hear this administration talking about illegal mining, that is what they're talking about. Not only are they talking about this, safeguarding the lives and the livelihood of these young people, the administration is dealing with a much bigger problem. Warlords earning in dollars. And these are the same people who will eventually, because Jeroboam becomes so powerful, so untouchable, they'll start, this illegal mining is a segue. It is an introduction to drug trafficking on a very large scale. So it's a big problem. So don't dismiss it and oversimplify it by saying, no, bread, yeah, not to milk. That is the problem with Zambia. You oversimplify things when you don't even know what's going on. You know what's happening, but you have no idea what's going on. That's the truth. So here it is. When the district, one of the problems that I saw in Mwewa was that when the head of state arrived, in my view, of course, everything is clearer in hindsight. You know, it's that old saying, everything is clearer, everything is 20/20 in hindsight, meaning you see things clearer when you look back. I believe that the district chairperson of the UPND should not have spoken before the president, because it is what he said to the crowd that sparked that issue. Let me explain. The UPND district official for the UPND, he stood up and he basically told those people, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people, told them that no, the president is here. He has heard your plight concerning Sensei, and he's going to do what you want. Oh, the young people cheered. That was the only time you got a thunderous applause from the crowd, because that UPND district official told them what they wanted to hear. The problem came after he spoke. The provincial minister now stood up and said, no, this administration does not condone illegal mining. Already there was a conflict of messaging. The district UPND guy was saying one thing. The provincial Copper Belt minister was saying completely something else. And listen, the rule is this. When you are addressing a crowd, a politically charged crowd, when they cheer, in the Zambian context, my experience is this, and I've seen this play out many, many times. When you are addressing a group of marketeers or cadres or when you are saying something and they cheer with approval, it means what you are saying to them is wrong. When they boo you, when they insult you, it means what you are saying is right. I'm telling you, that is how Zambian politics works. If you think that if you go the populist route, you'll be misled. If you do what the people are saying you do, you'll be misled. You have to decide what is good for the country, what's good for the city. I'll give you an example. If you tell street vendors, move out of the street, they'll boo you. They say, no, manage to Underwood. And then you say to them, no, go to the markets. They'll boo you. But if you as a leader say, no, bane, mwewa street vendors, tatuakamita mfye mumusebo. Mwakula tanti kafye imbushi, imbalala, ifinkubala, filifyonse, kachesha, yonse mulebi kafye mumusebo. Mawa, ya, abantu beswaba, bosi, bosi ulalye. Nga wa umfu afye fye na nshwaish bati, afye olebeba, na olufyanya. The right thing, they boo you. The wrong thing, they cheer you. The same with Senseli. This administration is clear. Illegal mining is dangerous. Illegal mining spawns drug lords and kingpins. We don't want that. We don't want Jerobozo so powerful that they tell the police you can't come here. What is that nonsense? This is not Congo. Siku Congo kuno here. Now, the other, when the provincial minister stood up to speak, he could feel the tension because I was standing just by the podium there. I could feel the tension was so palpable. Do you know what it means to be palpable? Palpable means it is so real you can touch it. The tension in the air was so thick you could actually cut through it with a knife. That's how tense it was. The provincial minister, in an effort to allay, in an effort to de-escalate the tension, he announced, Kuti, the president has come with a package of assistance for 10 million kwacha. My goodness. But I was there, I could hear them saying it. Maja, 10 million in action. Your 10 million mulero mbuleyanshi ifota turefwaya 10 million iyo ifota fikwa itene nchito ifota turefwaya Senseli mine. That was the issue. When the provincial minister made that announcement, and that announcement landed with a hollow thud, it landed on deaf ears. He now turned to the head of state and he handed over the podium to the head of state. The head of state now had the task of calming that crowd down. In retrospect, the provincial minister should not have spoken before the president. The district UPND should not have spoken before the president. And this is why, I'm a politics in here. Let us move away from off-the-cuff politics, especially when it comes to the head of state. People need to know who's going to speak and what they're going to say. And then you just start introducing people willy-nilly. So now I'm going to go to the podium, the youth of the Chakuti. He said, Mulandeko. What if he says something diametrically opposed to the president? So moving forward, Mane, let us not have this willy-nilly approach, especially when the head of state is on the podium. What is going to be said by anyone there must be in line with the president's agenda. What the UPND district official said there in Chiwempala was completely diametrically opposed to the president's position on illegal mining. So vet these chaps. Don't just allow anyone to go to the podium to say anything. That is nonsense. That is the reason we are in the situation we're in now. Now, let me point out something that some of you may find inconsequential, but to me, I'm telling you, is extremely important. In my view, that skirmish, that kerfuffle, was not PF, it was not a UPND thing. The kerfuffle, the confusion, was a Senseli mine issue. The Senseli mine issue is shrouded in politics. That is the problem. Hear me. Listen to what I'm saying. The boys who were throwing stones at the head of state, they were not PF per se. But the issue of Senseli mine is shrouded in politics. It's covered in politics. It is a highly politically charged issue. Dare I say, in the minds of those boys, they are thinking, during PF, we had access to this mine. During this administration, this is how they think. Completely ignoring those two important issues of, number one, illegal mining is unsafe. Number two, it breeds warlords, kingpins, people that in their minds are in charge of territories, and that in their minds, law enforcement is not allowed to go there. Those are the two things they ignore. But the truth is, it is not a PF issue. That Senseli is not a PF issue. It is just a politically charged issue. That is it. Now, the problem, hello, I'm live. It means I'm live. The issue of, one of the things I noticed, and I noticed this quite from a very interesting point of view. You know, for all intent and purposes, that gathering in Chiwempala, where the president was to grace the occasion, by and large, that was a UPND gathering. Because the head of state is there. The head of state he hails from the UPND. Even the cadres that were there, they were UPND. But one thing I noticed, I don't know if you saw it, there's even a clip I've posted. I saw one or two, there might have been 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 young boys wearing PF t-shirts. Not even one was touched. Not even one was bothered. Not even one was approached. Not even one was harassed. Now, I want to ask you a question and I want you to answer it in the comments. Let us say the PF was still in power. Let us suppose they were still in power. And that Senseli mine, that Chiwempala market burnt. And a PF president went to Chiwempala with PF cadres. Would you see 5 or 6, 7 boys dressed in UPND regalia, just walking around freely? Wale tambala no kutambala pakwenda. Na asama no kwasama pakwenda. Leti pa. Tell me in the comments. Be honest. Let me say it again because this is important. Suppose that was a PF event. Suppose the president at the time was a PF president with PF cadres everywhere. But you look and you see 4 or 5 young boys dressed in red. And it clearly says UPND. And it has the face of HH there. And they're walking through that crowd. Bwanani, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you will fear and they will kill you. Tell me in the comments. They'll kill you. And they'll do it knowing full well that they are doing the bidding of the party. They are doing it as a sign of loyalty to the party. Imagine if Black Apple, that vagabond, that despot, that bottom feeder, that leech, that parasite. Imagine if Black Apple, PF were in power, Black Apple was one of the key cadres at Chiwempala, and the 4 or 5 UPND boys were just walking around. Kuti baba pani? Kuti baba chitambwino? Bwana banga bapaye, kube paya, kuba kokota, kumona na mantwani na meno, ba kokota. What is my point? My point is, at Chiwempala there, when the president went there, there were a few boys walking around in the ECL t-shirts, PF t-shirts. Nobody bothered them. I saw them. They were just walking freely. Where do you think that came from? Who did that come from? It came from HH. HH was the one who announced, you can wear any t-shirt you want, the party of your choice, no one should bother you. But you gloss over that. You look at that and you dismiss it as if it's something insignificant. When in reality, there was a time it was impossible for you in a PF environment to walk around with a UPND t-shirt. It was a death. It was an act of self-death. But now in UPND, you can even have gatherings like that in Chiwempala, and the young boys walking around in ECL t-shirts, and no one bothers them. That's leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Do as if the leader says something, it must trickle down. Now, unfortunately, the MP, after that skirmish in Chiwempala, and it's very unfortunate that it has been reduced to partisan politics. I find that so sad that the unrest, the skirmishes that happened in Chiwempala have been reduced to just PF politics. No, Nima PF. You don't know that. Nima PF. Everybody post some, you don't know that. It was just a bunch of young kids. Some drunk, some disgruntled, some annoyed, some frustrated with the fact that the government has said no illegal mining. These are people that, in their minds, they're angry, they're frustrated. It has nothing to do with being PF. But unfortunately in Zambia, it is the easiest way to make sense of political conflict, is to just reduce it to, no, they were PF. Because if you go to Kanyama, Kuchibodia, and you use that language, you say, no, but PF, it's easier to believe. It is more difficult to explain that, no, that issue was born out of misguided frustration. That's what it was born out of. It was born out of a state of enlightenment. That's all. Now, because we have political community leaders who know the language to use when speaking to their constituents, there's that MP in mwewa who kick-started this conversation about cadarism coming back. A sentiment that is diametrically opposed to Hakainde Hichilema's agenda in as far as cadarism is concerned. Guys, the rules are simple. Echo what the president is saying. Echo what the leader is saying. If you are not saying what the leader is saying, it means you are on two different roads. The word of God says, follow me, the Apostle Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. As long as I'm following Christ, then Christianity is my abode. The moment you cannot say you're following Christ, but you're an atheist, or you espouse atheism. It doesn't go that way. Follow me as I follow Christ. What am I saying? If HH says no cadas, say no cadas. If HH says we're going in this direction, you as a member of that political party and a community representative representing the president, you echo what the president is saying. This is the reason why we are now in the problems we're in. Because on one side, people are saying something else. The head of state is saying something else. It is politically convenient. It is politically convenient for people to blame PF and say, no, that's just PF. Also, equally, it is politically convenient for PF to say, we are being sidelined, we're being attacked. Now, what this does, it breeds conflict, it escalates violence. Violence, political violence that these chaps, these politicians, especially grassroots politicians, this violence that they are promoting, if it erupts, they themselves cannot contain it. Because already here in the CBD, I can tell you, in the CBD here, if you start walking around with a PF t-shirt now, in this current climate, chances are you'll be victimized. Why? Because a member of parliament announced that Kadarism is back. So now it gives the impetus to cadres to start victimizing people for having divergent views in as far as the regalia they wear. For almost 4 years. And you know, I find it so sad that HH has to constantly fight this, constantly drill it into the people. Wear the t-shirt you want. Support the party of your choice. He's constantly said that. Now, that message is being diluted by selfish politicians. Diluted. And for what? For politics? No. Zambia is bigger than any one of us. And it will be here long after we're gone. If you think that Zambia is defined by you and you alone, then you're wrong. The city comes first. The country comes first. The citizens come first. Simple. Do you understand that? And I think this is something that HH has constantly talked about. You know, so I'm praying, I'm hoping, and I wrote it earlier today, and I'll give you this advice. If you're going to come to the CBD, please don't wear any colors. Whether you're PF, UPN, don't wear any colors. Just your allegiance to whichever political party you choose, and that's up to you. Your allegiance should be self-evident in the voting booth when you go to vote. Don't put yourself in harm's way when you come into the CBD and you start wearing colors, whether it's UPND or PF. Because all it takes is for you to accidentally wander into a territory that is being patronized by the wrong political party. For example, kuria ku PF secretariat kuria. That road, tell me in the comments, what's the name of Kwadibaka Akamusebo? There are lots of mechanics there. Yeah? Mechanica, people that fix your vehicle. What is the name of that road? There's a little road there. You know. Tell me in the comments. Karakamusebo Kadia. Tell me. Karakamusebo Kadia. Just tell me the name of that road. Near the PF secretariat, there's a small road there where people go to fix their cars, they go to the dance. Yes, Panganani Road. Now imagine if you need your car fixed and you are from a political rally, a UPND political rally, yes, a UPND political rally. And you have a UPND t-shirt, and you decide, oh, like any papa pachiteni hapa, ndungsheku kamo toka, ka aircon walungisha, and you just happen to pass through that area, and the 5 PF guys see you, they'll stone your car. That is what we're talking about. That is what is at stake. Do you understand that? That is what is at risk. You are a supporter of a political party of your choice. It's your choice. No one should victimize you. No one should sideline you. No one should disenfranchise you for choosing the political party of your choice. But in this current political tension that is being manufactured by politicians, If you're from a rally and you're wearing a t-shirt and you drive through the wrong area, they will stone your vehicle. Now, can you imagine you go you go home and you now have to explain to your wife why the car has been damaged? No. Why not if for a t-shirt? You know, so out of retaliation. Because you see, these people, that's how they are. Cadres. Did you see that video of cadres marching through Freedom Way the other day? Tell me in the comments if you've seen that video of cadres. In this case, they were UPND cadres. But it doesn't matter who they are. Whether they're UPND, whether they're PF, they are all the same. They have the same MO, modus operandi, violence. Did you see that video of the boys storming through Freedom Way? Now, can you imagine if you are in Freedom Way, uleshta mango, you are just minding your own business. But on that particular day, you decided to wear a t-shirt, a PF t-shirt. No, you can wear anything. You are and then you meet those boys, Sebo. They will beat you within an inch of your life. Conversely, if PF cadres were marching through Freedom Way and they find a UPND person wearing a t-shirt, they'll beat you within an inch of your life. Why? Because you've just worn a t-shirt. Now, is that the type of society we want to be living in? That you are going to buy mango and just because you're wearing a t-shirt, vakuma, wapofuka, wakukontolo amaboko, wakukontolo molu, because you are wearing a t-shirt. That's it. Ema politics ayo. That is nonsense. That is why HH fought against this idea of t-shirts. But political leaders are diluting that message by announcing things like, no, Kadarism is back. Do you know what you're saying to those young people? You're saying, Fuale Nyama Regalia, and when you see someone from the opposite side, women, beat them. That's the message. It's nonsense. If we have been, especially if Fueba Bomba Munomusi BD. For those of you, Mwewa Bomba in these nice opulent areas, you are not touched with the feeling of our infirmity. You people that work Kumanda Hill, Kuakez, Kukabulonga, you don't even know the hell we go through here in the CBD because of cadarism. In the 4 years that HH has been president, the issue of cadarism is almost non-existent. I mean, for almost 4 years, we went through a period, Pano, it was, Waisa Kunchto, your mind is free. Muli PF, you constantly had to wonder, is today the day Balanjipaya? Is today the day Balam Pofula? Is today the day Balan Kontola Molu? Is today the day where Motoka Yandibala Ocha? That is how we used to think every day. You woke up dreading the day. If we twale fika pano, ngawa afika fe pasimoson na motoka fiaima. Yo chichitambala iwe twala kumona. We lived like that for years. So my point is, for those of you that don't know what it is to be under cadre threat, you don't know. But for those of us who have lived it, when we hear political community leaders use those words, when they use that language, cadarism is back, ooh, it makes my blood curdle. It makes the hair on the back of my head stand. Umubili. It's on jenjem. Why? Because you don't want that life. it's very disheartening. Very disheartening, because cadres are dangerous people. Edio, don't depend on the law. You can't depend on the law. You can't say, no, if you assault me, I'll report you to the police. I'll get a medical. Who are you going to report? Pantama cadres ngabaisa 20. There are 20 beating you. Who are you going to say it's this one? Edio, where are you going to find them? But you, after they beat you because of politics, it didn't so bafumya ameno bakula ameno amolu bakontola for politics. That's your life. You're in a. That is not how I want to spend the rest of my, my life. I've got at least 35, 40 years left. I don't want to spend the rest of my life under that. I don't want to do that. Anyway, what was I was going to talk about something else here. John Sangwa. John Sangwa only has 30,000 followers on his Facebook page. On his personal, guys, let me bring up to speed. John Sangwa is a lawyer that has recently announced that he wants to run for president, which, for all intent and purposes, there's nothing wrong with that. John Sangwa is a Zambian citizen, a very well-established, accomplished lawyer, very smart, very bright, And the only problem I have with John is that he seems to think that Facebook is the gateway to his presidency. But let me explain. First of all, two things. He has a movement called the Movement for National Renewal. Is that what it is? Tell me in the comments if that's what it is. Movement for National Renewal. It's a political movement. It's a quasi pseudo political party, sort of. And on its official Facebook page, they only have 30,000 followers. I'm going somewhere with this. Just stick with me. Now, he's announced that he wants 1 million followers by December of 2025. I'm live. He wants 1 million followers by December 2025. That's next month. Where he stands now, all he has is 30,000 followers. On his personal certified page, he only has 112 followers or something? Now, here's the problem. Facebook is not your friend. In order to get 1 million followers, do you have any idea how much work you have to put in? I mean, people think Facebook is you just wake up and you got 1 billion followers tomorrow. Why not? It takes work. Now, when I say work, I'm talking about, because the only real growth on social media is organic growth. That's the real growth, not boosted growth. I mean, John Sangwa today can decide to spend $10,000 to boost his page, and he could pick up a few 100,000 followers like that. But that's not organic reach. They call that that's artificial reach. It's not real. It's synthetic. Organic reach means you've been on Facebook for years. People know you. You've got name recognition. When people say your name, they recognize you. But it's something that you have built over time. The only way you get organic reach of 1 million followers, it's going to take you a couple of years to do that. It might take you 4 or 5 years. 1 million? That's a tall order. And for those of you that know nothing about content creation, for those of you that don't know anything about social media, for those of you that don't know anything about the algorithm, you must learn that very, very quickly, especially politicians. You think that 1 point, is it 1.4, 1.9? How many people does HH have? You think that number, he just got that number because he woke up one morning and says, I want 1 million. No, it took years for him to build that. If you want those numbers, and let's be clear, you can get them. Okay, I'm not sitting here telling you can't get them. What I'm saying to you is that there's a path to getting them. It doesn't happen by spontaneous combustion. It doesn't happen by osmosis. It doesn't happen by any of that. It happens by pure grit. What is grit? It means you constantly have to talk to the grassroots. You constantly have to put out engaging, consistent content. John Sangwa's national movement of nationalism, he only has like 9 videos there. How the hell are you going to get 1 million people with 9 videos? You have to churn out. You know the word churn? Not turn, churn. You have to churn out. You have to manufacture. You have to create. You have to make consistent, engaging videos every single day. And it's not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you that. You have to do it every single day, little by little, precept by precept. The Word of God says, line by line, precept by precept. Here a little, there a little. That's how it works. So in my view, John Sangwa is shooting in the dark. He's building castles in the sky when he says, I need 1 million followers by December 2025. And all he has right now is 30,000 followers. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to put in the work. That's the truth. And that's advice I've given you for free. That's free advice. All right. Binwell Mpundu. Binwell was on some show and he was trying to offer these pseudo-pathetic, tepid solutions to the power energy deficit in this country. He says, the interviewer asked him, if you were to be President Binwell, how would you sort out the issue of load shedding? He says, the answer is simple. I would simply stop exporting power. How the hell are you going to do that, Binwell? Do you know how much of a revenue source that is for the nation? Number one. Number two, do you know how many contractual obligations there are? It's not a unilateral decision. Binwell thinks that he'll become president and unilaterally, on his own, by himself, just announce, we've stopped exporting power. It doesn't work that way. There are so many contractual, statutory obligations that we have with all these countries. And not to mention, it's a major source of revenue for Zambia. You know, even in terms of foreign exchange, it's massive. So it's beyond Binwell to say, no, when you hear a leader talk about solar, it means they failed. Or me, when I come into power, when I become president, I'm just going to switch off the lights. I'm going to switch off the power and say, no, don't give Angola, don't give Tanzania, don't give them. This power is just for us Zambians. He was in your right. That is the amateur approach Binwell Mpundu has towards politics. The chap is an amateur. Amateur. Why me? Why me says he's abandoned, and rightly so. Rightly so. If why me was if he was on fire, and the only way to put the fire out was to spit on him, I wouldn't spit on him to save his life. Burn, baby, burn. He's on his own. Sorry, but he is. All right. Thanks for watching. God bless.